is up? How's it going? Driving around here, doing a rando stream. I don't know, are we live? It appears that we're live. Oh. You let me know. You let me know when we're alive. I'll be driving. We're alive. Hello, hello. Hopefully everyone had a good day. My days are pretty good. Man, they'd be so much better if I just didn't have to be a slave. Man. Can you imagine? Could you imagine living in a free society, what that would look like? Imagine what's really would be really incredible would be to imagine the technological advancement since the Industrial Revolution, and then imagining that being utilized for a truly individual and family sustaining model of empowering people, having humanity guide itself without any hand on the wheel. I wonder where the aggregate would go. It's really incredible to think about. It's crazy to think if you didn't have to work on a weekend, or if you could work as many hours as you wanted, and suffer the consequences if you don't work enough for yourself. What a beautiful world that would be. The world of old, I suppose. I haven't seen that in a while. Of course, you still have the abuses that, you see right now. You'd have them to the extreme. That doesn't negate the fact that you should be free, because all the abuses that are to the extreme, we have them anyway. We have all those abuses anyway. They just get the covers piled over them, and you get tasked out to look in a different direction. But they're there. So Cliff and Dark have started a podcast. It's very preliminary. It was fun to do, and I'd like to do some more. So I put there's a link in the description to the podcast. You can check it out if you want. It's got more rambling on it. It's an experimentation to go to different channels. Hasn't been shut down yet. So, what do we talk about? So there, if you want to get on a podcast, just write me. Just send me an email. We'll put you on the podcast. As long as you're not crazy. Too crazy, You gotta be able to hold a conversation and shit. I'm sure they won't mind. So I think I have found a new explosive compound. It's gonna be pretty cool, I think. I'm gonna have to do synthesis on it, and I've got to try a lot of different methods. I'm not gonna let the demo project hinge on that, so it's a separate thing. It's just something that I found while I was like doing research. It just kind of popped into my lap, and so I'm pretty excited about that. Like, found it as in like nobody's ever known about it. Kind of excited. Of course, I'm learning organic chemistry on the fly, so it's going to be interesting working that one out. Now, my advantages are that I do have brass testicles, and I've been blown up a lot, you know. So it doesn't, you know, I've got the opportunity, and I, you know, I'm not gonna like choke on poison gas or get hit by highly degenerating acid or anything like that. I have ways to get around all that. So it puts me in the position where I can like really fuck around. As long as I don't accidentally make like a fucking fission reaction or something and fucking nuke myself, I'll be good. The quantities that I'll work in are small enough to be able to be experimental. So that's exciting. What's on you guys? What's on your guys' mind? You guys have anything that's should be talked about? That, I mean, I prefer things that no one else is talking about. Yeah, fission, fusion. So fission, fusion. So a fusion reaction would be when you're fusing nuclei, right? And then the electrons have to make up for the energy displacement, and that's like your detonation. The fission reaction is let's see, what the fuck is a fission reaction? Fission reaction would be like, that would be like when you're bombarding neutrons at an atom. Then you have thermonuclear, like the term thermonuclear, that's applying to like the method of like the mechanism, the actuation of the reaction, which would be high explosive. That would be like where you get all your explosive lenses and shit like that. But now the big thing about the crazy thing about explosives is that out of like all of the like they're very concentrated on nitros generally. Lots of amides, a lot of nitro compounds. They don't like. There's not a lot of study done on like compound reaction, where like you have a bunch of materials that compound, like you have a reaction and then the reaction reacts with something else and then reacts with something else. You can have like exponential energy release that way, and it's very laborious if you did it through traditional. It's kind of it's almost easier to just like accidentally discover when you put some shit together and it fucking goes off. That's the easiest way. Computationally, I'd imagine it's pretty laborious because you're basically it's like picking, or it's like cracking a safe. You know, like all the number combinations they become exponential. You know, every order that you work your way out, or you know, cryptography or something like that. Similar to that. I'm sure the government has some software that could do it, but they're sure as fuck. I doubt that they are actually. I doubt that they're doing it because their focus is so narrow on demo. They don't do any kind of like. There's been virtually like no study on like physical explosion, like physical detonation, which would be like non-chemical, or on like implosion and vortex power and shit like that. Resonance power, vortex power, things like that, which is all equally applicable and certainly has the same destructive potential as chemical explosives. It's just completely untapped, unknown. like resonant frequency earthquakes and shit like that. Where you can just, it's like an atom bomb, but you're just like sending resonant frequencies through the earth that drop buildings and shit like that. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy shit that they don't really work on because it's not the model, right? Yeah, so 13920, it is like it's in progress, and they should be. I'm guessing that would have been May, I think. So they haven't until next May is the completion, and I would guess that they're actually going to, because of the nature of it, I would assume that it's going to go faster than a year. So their target deadline is 1 year. This is on the bulk power pack executive order for changing out components and software and handing over the United States power systems. They have a year deadline to complete it. Because of the sensitivity of it and the need for whatever they have to do it for, it's very likely that's high priority and it'll go faster than a year. Especially because power plants, I don't know if you've ever met any dudes that like work at a power plant, but they're very, I mean, they're fucking dealing with electricity, so they're very protocol oriented, and they're just gonna like follow whatever directive with a quickness. So they're pretty sharp dudes. So I would imagine that their turnover is going to be, rapid. They're probably done by now. Who knows? I did not see it. That's very interesting. Kevin says that there's an article about race-based exemption for vaccines. That's very interesting. I would love to hear more about that. If you could email me that and then put your name in the subject, we'll check it out. Sweet. I'll look for it. I know you said that you just did it, so I'll look for it and find it. Thanks. Yeah, the Chinese spy stuff, obviously. So, I tried to give warning about the situation with China. I've been trying to warn people about it, like in person for, it's going on. We're about to be like 6 years now. But, it's only been in the past year that I've been doing it publicly through social media, trying to warn people about it. Essentially, the situation with China, if I have to forget censorship and just give it to you straight, essentially what has happened with China is that China is captive by their financial model through communism to the merchants, the international merchants, who deployed to assist in the communist revolution in China. It's all very well known, very well established. It's so well known, in fact, that Chinese are aware of this, at least to the degree of the origin of their nation and the position of the merchants now. They're publicly familiar with it, so it's not like a taboo subject or anything like that. It's something that, in a general sense, at least, you can go around and talk to Chinese, and they have a general disposition that, their words are that Jews run international commerce in a completely saturated capacity, meaning that there is no competition. Everybody's locked out. That's how the Chinese view economics. And their situation is that they've been moved into the United States, what appears to be tactically, for a few decades, and that is the reason that that coincides with the modern industrialization of China to be a world producer, and the United States to be a transition to a world consumer. The Chinese, they, because of their understanding of like broad, global considerations that are real and not propaganda, it makes for a very interesting, it kind of necessitates a certain aspect of an alliance between Jews and the Chinese. Not only with them using communism, which is communism in general is a pseudo political ideology. Pseudo meaning that it's a disguise for a mechanism of distribution, of control of goods and services, and wage and price control. It's the pseudo facade of that. It doesn't really matter what it says or anything. It's just that because communism has already been established with a lot of energy put into it to establish its identity to the rest of the world, they're still riding on the communist train. But communism isn't even like a real thing. It's just the name of the service level, like the facade of what you'd see if you analyze economics for a nation. Captivated within the nation, not from its ins and outs and how it trades internationally. If you looked at that, then you would see like, wait, this is not communism. It's just a captive market. This is a monopolized and captive input and output. It's a fucking. The Jews are the relay of the Chinese economy. They act as a relay. If it was like an electrical circuit, they're like a relay. The Chinese, because of their understanding of this and awareness of this kind of stuff, at least at a broad, a very broad stroke social recognition of it, they, like I said, it forms kind of a necessary alliance between the two. And this is where you flesh this out, where you start to look at things like what's that rag that is doing YouTube commercials now? Epoch Times. So Epoch Times, obviously, like Chinese ownership on paper, in the background it's Jews, so they have Chinese and there's a lot of Jews involved in it. In terms of even like Goldman Sachs assisted the communist revolution in China. Just a tidbit for you. The Chinese are in a position where they know, because of the way that the Chinese government is in terms of having everything on lockdown all the time, having no, there's not even like a public concept of privacy or anything like that. Because it's the way that it is, China is extremely aware of who leaves China and who comes into China. It's well documented. It's they have redundancy there, and their exchange with personnel with the United States over the past few decades has been negotiated and set up just like international trade was set up. Like your Chinese products that you're fucking finding everywhere and you can't find anything else except Chinese products. How that happened is no different than how the Chinese got brought here. So nobody wanted any Chinese products. It was a bad idea. Nobody wanted it. Nobody cared. And then it just happened. It just got forced down your throats. Same thing with the Chinese emplacement in the United States. Now the Chinese are aware of that because they know how many of their personnel are coming over here. So they can have a pretty good idea of what's going on because of their surveillance. They're a thorough surveillance state, especially for ins and outs and accountability. So they know who has come over here, who's been put into a university, who's been put into like journalism, who's been, when the Chinese national gets sent over here, China fucking knows about it. And so does the state, so does the Department of Immigration. in the United States. And so, with the Chinese being who they are, you've got to ask yourself, like, what is the purpose of the Chinese coming over here? And the purpose of it is to realize the opportunity to blame the Chinese to set up the World War with China. And so that's why you've got all this stuff with Chinese spies in the United States. Now, China is smart enough to understand this. They're not so dumb that they don't understand that China is going to be set up as a fall guy. So I would assume that this is an agreement, a part of the agreement between the Jews in the United States and China in implementing the immigration policy and slowly setting up the Chinese to be the primal enemy of the United States to prepare for a world war. And that is the situation with China. So as you begin to see more and more news coverage of Chinese spies, Chinese sabotage, etc., this is the process that I'm describing. That you're seeing the byproduct of that. This is also what the EO 13920 is about, changing out power components. Most likely, I mean, who knows where they're going to go with it. It seems most likely the easiest thing is to put everything online so that systems are vulnerable to remote attack, which can then be attributed to China. All right, next question. So the five dead service members in Frankfurt. I haven't heard anything about that. If you know any kind of like a published source for that, where it's like somebody's putting their fucking name on the article and talking about it, send that to me so I can check it out. I heard rumors about it. I've also heard rumors. There's also a rumor that a Mossad agent was assassinated. A Mossad administrative official was assassinated in Tel Aviv. I just don't buy any of that stuff. Like unless I have names and know what's going on and shit, I just don't buy it. You know. I did not talk about the biologically enhanced super soldiers in China. I'm sure. I mean, the situation with China is really bad. Particularly in the prospect of warfare, because they're number one, they're like when the United States and China duke it out, China is going to be able to produce explosives, like radical fucking explosives that are kind of like unseen. Basically, you have, World War I, you've got picric acid, which is fairly low depth and sensitive, and so it really affects the effectiveness. It really hampers the effectiveness of the range of materials and devices that you can make with it for battle. World War II, that's where you get like the primary of TNT, and then towards the end of World War II, that's when you get the introduction of RDX. Nowadays, since then, RDX and Patton have been the standard, and their detonation velocities are really high. You're looking at somewhere around 8,400 meters per second for Patton. You're looking at somewhere around 8,700 meters per second for RDX. And these are the primary explosives that limit and dictate what kind of things can be made. Well, there's crazier shit now that hasn't gone into wide production. And all of it is being produced by China. I mean, we're producing shit here too, but China is like, they're the number one supplier of any type of chemical synthesis. It's the major export of China, chemicals. And so their explosive production capacity is like out of this world, like never seen before. It's incredible. Other shit, I mean, Chinese stuff that they send here is really shitty. And that has to do with, I mean, people that deal with Chinese suppliers have all kinds of stories, like essentially if they will take it upon themselves, if you have regular shipment of Chinese produced goods, as they produce your goods repetitively, like over years, they will take it upon themselves to introduce cost-saving measures by either like removing components or, you know, altering compositions, things like that. They'll do whatever, any shortcut, and if you don't say anything about it, then it's like, you know, it's fine. You're getting the final product, and that's kind of like the standard, like international export business mode for China. And so the stuff that you get here is an example of that. The stuff that the Chinese makes for themselves is going to be a lot higher quality. Like if it's important, they're gonna do a lot better job in manufacturing. You're getting all these shitty motherfucker. You're getting all these shitty products because they're implementing, like, you know, extreme cost saving at the cost of the quality of the product. Yeah, holosuns are good. It's nothing special. Like, there's nothing to write home about. Like, they come with the holosun logo. It's technology from, you know, Swedish produced optics. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at Swedish produced optics. That technology being replicated in mass and cheap by China. That's what holosun is. It's nothing else. It works. In general, China's manufacturing processes are garbage. I mean, I guess, like, judged based on what? Well, not everything in China is a sweatshop. Like in China, their arms manufacturing is government. You know, so it's totally different from like somebody that's just like a public, like I sell chemicals to the United States and Britain. It's a different, and compete with India. It's a different, you know, their stuff that they're producing for themselves is like entirely separate. It's not like here where you have open bids for, you know, I make chemicals and then the government wants to contract because my quality is so good. It's not like that. It's like China has government armament research, you know, state-funded channels where they develop all their weapons and things like that. It's totally separate. There's not just like civilians just like making weapons there. Yeah, the Chinese military pouches are like, they're super fucking, like the fucking there's vests, the fucking LBEs. They're just, I mean, it's like cotton and vinyl, and it's so simple, and they fucking hold mags, and you wear like 10 of them. I mean, you just put them everywhere. Just load them up with mags and put them all over yourself. You put them everywhere, just like a bandolier or something. That's how I use them, at least. Chika? I don't know. I'll have to look. I haven't checked my email today. I probably should have done that before the stream. Yeah, I used to have an Norinco M14. It would double fire. Like, so I would get intermittent sear engagement failure where it would fire 2 rounds so rapidly that you could barely, like, you couldn't tell audibly that 2 rounds had fired. You could only tell because the rifle recoil would be different. It was like ultra fast cyclic rate of like 2 rounds when you pull the trigger. I sold that one. I mean, I don't know if a Chicom rig is the best, but like, you know, I mean, for a $5 chest rig, it's pretty fucking good. They're missing stuff, like you're not going to be able to have, you know, nade pouches or fucking utility pouches and shit, but you can figure that shit out. Did the ATF come down on SB braces? M14s, I don't really like them. I mean, they're okay. AR-10's a lot better. We had M14s in Ramadi. We got Vietnam era M14s issued to us before deployment. It would have been in like early 2006. We got M14s. That was when the Army did the designated marksman program, where they rolled out like long distance marksmanship training for team leaders with like M14s and shit. Yeah, I mean, ATF, as far as I'm concerned, ATF is fucking retarded if they're, like, if ATF is really going around, like, saying, like, we didn't rule on your SIG braces, like, they're not smelling the fucking paint thinner on the wall. Like, your fucking days are numbered, and you guys ought to be just playing it cool so that, I mean, I'm not saying, it's not like a threat, I don't mean it like a threat, I'm just, you know, like, the people in the United States are fucking fed up, and this shit's gonna come to a head, and when it does, like, they're not gonna care about your regulations. So if I was the ATF, you know, I'm sure that there's probably some okay guys in the ATF. I don't agree with anything that they're doing, and, you know, I believe that they're a threat to the United States, and they're traitors, but I understand how people are, and everybody's gotta have a job and shit like that. You know, so I get that. If I was in the ATF, I would not be, like, willy-nilly just, like, you know, hey, SB tactical, like, we didn't approve your SIG brace, because it's like you're just putting yourself, I mean, you're targeting yourself. Like, why do that? You haven't said crap yet. I mean, the best case scenario with the ATF would be that all those guys, like, hang tight and chill out and then just get the fuck out of there when shit falls apart. Hopefully. I mean, it's just going to be bad, y'all. Like, I don't think people understand, like, I mean, regardless of how it starts, regardless of how conflict starts in the United States, whether it's constructed, like introduced, where you have controlled factions fighting each other, like a bunch of people getting a bunch of money and weapons and then saying go hog wild, or if it's legitimate, like, you know, government overstep and then people start reacting, like, once that shit starts, it's gonna get out of control. And so, you know, I mean, I don't want ATF agents to get, like, murdered or killed or anything like that. I don't like what they do, and I don't think that they should be an organization. They should, if they had any morality, they would close their doors today and just quit showing up to work. But that's not going to happen. And so, you know, but their lives are still valuable. And, you know, it's going to be bad when the shit starts. I just wouldn't be, like, you know, I wouldn't be painting a target on myself like that. It's just not smart, you know. Like, if you're acting like this is 1996 or something, it's not. It's a different time, you know. Yeah, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. That's right. It's going to be a fucking chain reaction, and not for the better. Not for the better. Most likely. I think in the end, it's going to be good. But I think there's a lot of back and forth and heartache for everybody, the whole world. It's a very long show. This is going to be a very long show, and increasingly debilitating for everybody. It's going to be an attrition Christian conflict that feels like it has no end. Yeah, and there's, somebody says that's the problem with government enforcers. They're going to keep taking the paycheck until it's too late. I agree with you. I think that's, that's just the reality of the situation. It's just the way that it's going to go. I don't wish any harm on any, legit. I don't wish any harm on any ATF agent or Fed or anything like that. They're all Americans. Americans are important. If America could get their shit together and realize that they're having a jig danced on them, then they could, we could peaceably assemble to become autonomous and defend ourselves and cut off the poison. But we're not going to do that because everybody's, inundated and distracted in the moment. And it really makes, it's definitely not going to be good. It's not going to be good when this thing pops, because it's, like the people that are doing this, that people, I'm sure there's some people in the ATF and stuff that would, if they heard this, if they listened to this, they would hear it and they would like chuckle themselves like, oh, he doesn't know what he's up against. Like the people that are doing this, they're running the ATF, really running the ATF, not like your division chief, but like, the people that are really at the design tier of like federal executive agencies, independent executive agencies. They don't care about you, and they don't care about the United States, and you're a disposable number that is a tool to get to what they need to get to. That's it. And same thing with chaos. And so they don't care, they're happy if you're like gung-ho and like, we'll take on anybody that threatens us, we're the government. Like, well, you're not the government. You're like a non-elected government that got shoved down the United States' throat, and everybody's been really fucking passive and placating to your ass by not fucking running militias through there by the tens of thousands of fucking face shooting all of you, And I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying like smaller shit in history has occurred that has caused like mass death. And it's just like this whole thing is just being held together by, some fucking twine. Like it's on the brink, and it's not like the people that are running you aren't scared of the brink breaking, because that's the whole point of all this. Like, they don't care if, they don't care about like if there's an ATF tomorrow or whatever, because their gun control implementation and its finality comes at the very end. Like, after they're gonna need guns to fucking change the United States into not the United States. But they're not going to be there to help you when it gets really bad, and they're just going to throw money at you. I guess if that's your opinion of being helped, then you're going to have a shitload of help, but you're not going to get any help where the heart is. You're definitely not going to get any support from me. I don't support any. If you're like anybody in any kind of government capacity, anybody that takes on the American citizens in whatever, unless they're fucking controlled. If they're controlled and they're getting more money than you are to fucking come up against you from the same people that own you, then those people are fucked up. But if you're just talking about like regular people, whether they're confused or not, like the American people have, serious fucking problems facing them. They don't need the addition, they don't need the grinding of government intervention and force into shaping their lives to be compliant with fucking world government. And anybody that does that is obviously, you're directly definitional of the domestic enemy of the United States as intended in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Like that's precisely and exactly what the founding fathers were talking about. So when you walk around wearing your little sleeve on your flag on your sleeve, and you feel proud, remember that you're just wearing that flag right now because you're being paid to. But, nobody fucking voted you. Nobody wanted it. It just got shoved down their throats, and everybody was too distracted to care about it. Because your nation's been drowned in money and useless bullshit that takes away our rights. And in the meantime, the entire time, we've lost, we have our data like surveilled constantly under the guise of terrorism. We have like absurd taxes. We have gun laws that are encroaching and taking away people's ability to defend themselves. We have whole states that are basically communist. I mean, you ought to be ashamed of yourself if you don't see that. Like, if you don't see that and you're like, I don't see what the problem is with the federal government. Like, look at the state of this country. Like, you have assisted in the corrosion of your Constitution and the rights of all people. And when this thing comes to a head, because if you're remaining in the government and this thing goes into conflict, logically, like, you're going to be in contact with Americans that are like defending themselves, because whatever that looks like. I'm not saying that when you engage them in whatever particular engagement comes that it's going to be justified. I'm saying that what pushes it to that point is certainly the escalation of government intervention and trying to corral the people and put them under the foot of tyranny. I mean, it's literal tyranny. It's loss of autonomy, loss of rights, loss of choice, the ability to just say no. Like, you can have choice A or choice B, but you have to make a choice. When this thing comes to conflict, you should understand that this has been brought there by your apathy and taking a paycheck, because you haven't been straight up with yourself or the Constitution that you're swearing to uphold. And I mean, nobody has. So it's not, it's not all on you. It's everybody. I feel that way about my military service, but that's just the reality. Hey, I gotta go. I'm gonna do another stream. I gotta go pick some shit up. I'm gonna do another stream here in a bit. I love you.